In episode number 443 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, we cover McDonald's Pokemon promotion.
We also have Vanity Fair's Joker reveal from the Snyder Cut.
We also discuss the announced Godzilla comic books that I cannot wait for.
All of this and so much more on today's show.
Hello and welcome to your award-winning The Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and so much more. I am your almighty Emperor PalpaKelli.
And I am Rogue Daniel.
Rogue? Ooh, how mysterious.
I do feel like a little bit of a rogue, as moving forward it'll be me kind of carrying the podcast along with a co-host every week, a different one every week, which is thanks to them. This is PalpaKelli's final episode, but we will touch on that when we get to the Brocat block. For anyone new to the podcast, I'll give PalpaKelli the honors.
The way we format the show is we're going to go over some news. We have a really heavy news week this week, so a whole lot to talk about. We have our Patreon shoutouts. Typically, we would have a comic book highlight, and we round it out with the Brocat block, which is what happened with Daniel and I this week.
Kicking things off with LEGO of all things, they have announced a partnership with Sega as part of its LEGO Ideas after a concept design was submitted for Sonic.
I hadn't even heard of this, but the Ideas concept allows people to submit their ideas for a set, and if it reaches 10,000 supporters, the idea can be reviewed by experts.
No word yet on the release date or pricing. Treasure Hunting Sonic was at the comic shop the other day, and he mentioned that he spoke with a Sega representative and that they're going with basically the concept design that was submitted, but they are tweaking some things for the better. So the way the idea was work for LEGO is you submit your idea and you fully concept with the pieces and everything in mind, and they end up doing a final design based on what's actually feasible to put into a set and sale.
Well, the first piece of this that I want to touch on is he just spoke to a Sega representative. Just knows these people.
He's got his connections.
This feels very dangerous to me, though, of LEGO saying, submit whatever you wanted if it gets to 10,000. How many trolls are there out there submitting, here's a LEGO penis, 10,000?
A million. Doesn't mean LEGO has to do it, but I'm curious if there's some trolling ideas that eventually make their way.
Of course there are. Tiger King, can we get Tiger King Legos?
A Tiger King set would be great. Come on, Netflix, get on that.
Yeah.
Do a tie-in with Lego for Christ's sake. Come on.
Tiger King and Bridgerton.
Oh, man. Well, that one would definitely get 10,000. I'd be curious to see if the Sonic the Hedgehog line ends up really taking off, because so far it's Sonic and Eggman, and eventually, hopefully they do like a Knuckles and Tails, Shadow, all of the rest of the cast of characters. Even if they're a part of the blind bag keychain set, any way that we can get official Sonic Lego would be amazing.
I think it's smart. Lego continues to be so incredibly popular, and with different things like the Hogwarts sets and the Batman sets, these very, very expensive sets, you're seeing that you do have a market of us 30-something-year-olds who just have money to burn. Apparently can't buy a house, but let's buy some Legos.
I'm still waiting to find the tweet asking for a certain fan's original Sonic character and that they be submitted into the Lego design. Every time they announce a cartoon or a game, there's a teenager or a kid that says, here's my original Sonic character. It is Timmy the Hedgehog. Can you please put him in the next game? He is basically like me, and they just describe themselves.
Of course they do.
I don't know what it is about the Sonic community, but they have their own always furry version of themselves that they want in the Sonic universe.
Oh my, I mean, I used to put myself in my fan fictions, sure, but never for Sonic the Hedgehog. Oh shit, no I did. Oh my God.
Apparently, Julian and the rest of the Lazy Gaming guys were playing a game where if you type in on Google, like, say, Kelli the Hedgehog, that you can find, like, fan art of someone that already put up, like, their own version of a character. So you can just
Did you try it?
Yeah, there's a couple different versions of Daniel the Hedgehog that pop up.
Oh, my God. I want to try this now. I want to try it right now.
Mine was basically Shadow the Hedgehog, but colored in blue, and that was it.
Well, so Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah, but he had like the spikes going upward instead of down. I never got that in the Sonic the Hedgehog game where they're like, that's Sonic the Hedgehog, but he clearly looked really different.
Oh my God, I look just like Shadow, but a girl.
Let me see it. Yeah, they always do the red and black. Those are colors they are absolutely obsessed with. It's
got
edgy
like
and it's dark.
A little black dress on.
Yeah. And for the guys, it's got to have a scar over the eye.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So you know you're a badass.
Yeah, he's been through things.
Why is it always over the eye? Why can't it be
no
like
idea why it's always over the eye.
A nose scar? Something.
Just looks cool, I guess.
Well, I'm happy this exists. Oh, there's a Leo the Hedgehog. He is green and black.
Type in, Brocats, type in your name and then the hedgehog, and you will find some funny stuff. Now, I will not guarantee that it'll all be safe for work things, but that's the Sonic community for you. They're a great bunch overall, but just like every fan base, it's got its quirks.
You failed to mention that your hedgehog has wings. You have bat wings.
For some reason, I guess. Yeah, like the hedgehog has bat wings. I told you, though, it looks exactly like Shadow, but blue.
Yeah,
and
they just
wings.
recolored Shadow and stuck a big old scarf on him. He can be found in a coffee shop.
Pretty much. The fan base deserves it. I hope that this Lego Ideas set comes out soon, hopefully in the next couple of years. A fan base that I don't think really deserves this legendary edition, and it's one that I'm a part of, but I wasn't out there campaigning against BioWare to fix Mass Effect 3. I was happy with Mass Effect 3. I loved Andromeda. I wanted more Andromeda, but Electronic Arts and BioWare have revealed a release date of May 14th of this year for Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
You know, these fans are almost as crazy as those Sonic fans.
In what way?
Just obsessed. You were obsessed
Every
with that
fan
game.
Base, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Good
I had to pry you away from it. But this edition will include all 3 games in full, DLC in 4K and HDR. And write a book about it. I'm sorry.
Mac Walters, who is the project director, said, quote, remastering a game, let alone 3, is a huge undertaking as there's over 100 hours of gameplay included, but we wanted to do this for our fans as well as a new generation of gamers looking to jump into the iconic story of Shepard, end quote. I did look into the trailer. I did see it. I don't see what's so remastered about it. I guess there's shorter load times, but what LGG was saying is that remaster is not necessarily like a remake. You're not going to have a full from the ground up cleanup of the original game. It really is just converting it to 4K and including the DLC and hopefully having slightly shorter load times.
You know, I feel like they really missed out on a giant opportunity with calling this game Remastered Effect.
That would have been good.
That would have been the best. I am sorry for everyone out there whose significant other is about to dive back into this and get lost for years.
I'm actually not going to get this.
Oh, bless. My prayers have been answered.
Well, look, there is a Mass Effect 4 in the works.
What?
And I guess this continuity of games, it's going to be a sequel to 3 from what they've shown. It looks like Liara was shown in that revealed trailer.
Wasn't that your woman?
No, I didn't romance Liara. I romanced Miranda the first time. But regardless, I don't really have time for games.
I mean, whatever. I didn't click A and B in these things and romance her this way.
We'll see if in a few years when Mass Effect 4 comes out, I'll have time to play Mass Effect 4. But in the meantime, it's not something that's really on my radar, and that's why I'm not really going to jump into this remastered edition. If LGG or some of the other Brokehead Core members end up streaming it, I will probably end up watching and kind of living it through them.
Are you going to help them pick what they do?
If I even remember, there was a very specific way that I played those games, and I always went for Paragon, and then the second playthrough, I only went for Renegade, and then kind of did a middle.
And you got all those eye scars.
Yeah. The more evil and Renegade, the more you actually scarred up, which was kind of It was a neat way to do things.
Listen, I think there were a lot of really cool pieces of this game. I liked the ability you had to replay it multiple times and romance different people. And I'm still part of that board. I think I'm still part of that board on Facebook that we were following a while when we wanted to like make costumes.
Yeah.
And there's, I don't know, some guy dressing up as Garrus going around and looking at girls. And I'm like, I don't think he liked, anyway.
A lot of women like Garrus.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, he's an alien.
That's the one that I believe got most romanced when it was FemShep with another male member.
Wild. I don't think Garrus
They
is
love Garrus.
who
I don't know.
No.
Maybe you have to play it first.
I remember I wanted you to romance all the men. Like every guy you talk to, I'm like, is that it? Romance him. Romance him. And you were like, no.
That's the game I play with the guys when they're playing like Assassin's Creed or whatever. And they're like, and they come across this old bard. And I'm like, romance him. Try to kiss him. See what happens.
Try to kiss him. And then he comes at you like this. Well, good luck to anybody playing back through. Definitely let us know how it's going. Not for me.
The scalpers, PalpaKelli, are out in full swing. As you already know, there are so many Pokemon buyers that clean out whatever little bit of stock I get, sometimes at the comic shop each month. And the new set, Battle Styles and Shining Legends, will not be an exception to this. I think that spike will still be there. And if you have Pokemon cards, right now is the time to sell it. Don't buy to invest right now, because I don't see this becoming worth this again. Now is when you actually unload. Bobby was just saying on Discord, he's going to get rid of a bunch of his sets because he knows that it's going to plummet once the bubble bursts, and it won't be this spiked up again in probably many years.
Daniel and Bobby a year from now looking back like, son of a bitch, we should have held on to those cards and sold now.
No. I sold my fucking Charizard cards. Traded those back into the shop because I'm like, I don't know why I have fucking Charizard cards. Fuck that trash lizard. I'm a Bulbasaur collector. The reason I had them is I when I pulled booster packs, I happened to pull them, and I'm like, God damn it, all right. And you know, any EX or VMAX that we carry that we end up pulling, I end up keeping, because normally under regular circumstances, these cards are $5 to $10, like a regular high-end card. If it's a playable card, something like Shaman, at one point those were $100, but that is it. You're not looking at thousands of dollars. So I got rid of those things. And if someone bought a Charizard card yesterday, and I'm like, all right, you know, Godspeed. But, you know, it's just the time to sell for sure. And McDonald's has been reaping those benefits as they have launched its 25th anniversary Pokemon promotion with the purchase of Happy Meals, or you can buy just the toy as well.
During this promotion, customers are given an envelope, a mystery envelope that has either stickers, a card holder, or a deck box. Each envelope also comes with a McDonald's exclusive pack of Pokemon cards, and it comes in an adorable Pikachu box.
If they were true, it would have been an SSN ticket.
Oh, fuck, yes.
But only the true ones know.
I'll be eating Happy Meals every day. Got my SSN ticket.
There's a total of 25 cards reprinted from previous sets with the special 25th anniversary card logo. It's a Pikachu head, 25 right in it.
Of course.
Each card has a holo and a non-holo version, which sits at 50 total for completionists. Unfortunately, because of that, PalpaKelli probably won't be able to get her Pikachu box.
No, why?
Scalpers are literally hoarding. There's a picture that Bobby put up of he just had his table full of I think I showed it to you, Pikachu boxes.
I thought that was McDonald's back house.
Hell no. They are cleaning out these McDonald's.
All right, well.
And reselling the boxes and cards.
There's a McDonald's down the street, so I'm going to go talk to them.
Good luck.
I'm going to say, hey, McDonald's.
I don't think you realize the gravity of the Pokemon frenzy right now.
I don't think you realize who I am.
It's even worse than I think when we were kids. And this, I mean, Pokemon was maybe bigger. I don't know. But the scalping, collecting frenzy of it is huge right now.
You know what? All I'm hearing is you don't know who I am. I believe that there are people scooping these up, but I also believe that the McDonald's workers have some set aside for me.
We shall see, but I ended up getting, thankfully the Bulbasaur card is not the most valued one in the set.
Really?
So I was able to get both the holo and the non-holo combined on eBay for $10. I made out all right.
How much is my Pikachu?
Got mine. That one is one of the pricier ones, but I didn't look up the price. I just saw that I was scrolling through. I'm like, $25? I don't want that. And I'm like, typing in Bulbasaur. There it is. One was selling for $9. One was selling for $2 free shipping. I'm like, all right, let's do it.
Well, I'm happy for you, but I will get my hands on that Pikachu one way or another.
When I am not fielding phone calls about Pokemon, sometimes I sell some comic books at the shop
sometimes.
Every now and again, and we do have comic news here as COVID-19 shutdowns happened last year. As we reported here on the podcast, many indie publishers came forward, including Image Comics, and provided line-wide returnability for their books to comic shops.
As we mentioned, that was a year ago. We've been in this environment for a little while now. But as of this week, Image Comics has told comic book retailers that it's ending that returnability program. Image Comics will still continue its no-risk #1 program, offering full returnability on launch titles.
For anyone not really in the know of how this returnability program works, is your regular comic shop, typically, especially under DC and Marvel, whatever books they end up ordering from them, they are stuck with. They cannot return them. It's money lost, basically. So, I know I order pretty conservatively when it comes to a title that has low pre-orders. It's one of those titles that, like, for example, it has 2 pre-orders and then all of a sudden, 18 people want it on a Wednesday. And it's like, well, make sure to pre-order it because 1, it guarantees you your copy practically, and then 2, it tells the comic shop that, hey, there's some interest in this issue, maybe I should get a couple extras for the stands. And with Image Comics and the indie publishers, comic shops are going through a tough time. There were no books for months and business was shut down for months. Any books that are affected by this, because other people also don't have jobs, they don't have that expendable income to come in to stores to support them, then they made those books returnable, and that helped out comic stores. And it's not necessarily where the money goes back into your account, it just gets credited into your next order. And normally every Monday, I go through the returnability list, you strip the covers, you send them in, and then they give you credit on your next billing. But with the line wide, it's to be expected, but I'm mainly concerned with the #1 returns. And yes, I would send in occasionally like a 25 or whatever didn't sell that week. That was just a bonus to me because I still ordered those books as if there were no returnability. But with #1s, that's a huge thing because if there's a book that just got solicited this past Monday, and it happens every week, if it's returnable, and there's only 3 pre-orders, I will order 13. I will order 10 for the stands, and I'll take that risk and then just return the difference. And if it ends up being a hit, great. I sold 10, whereas normally I might have only ordered 5 or 6 because there was no returnability. So I am happy they're keeping that #1 program. I think that helps them. I think that helps out the readers and the retailer.
Yeah, I definitely don't think that I felt line-wide returnability would last forever. It doesn't really make sense. I think it was fantastic that they did this for retailers so they could get back on their feet, see, where the market really is. But now we're far enough out that they can say, okay, let's go back to just #1s. And I'm sure there were people that abused that service as well.
I think most comic shops just forgot about it. I'd be shocked if comic shops had a system that, like a regular locally owned one that didn't have its own, I don't know, not even policies, but I guess it's a strict schedule in place. Like I have a calendar and I check like, okay, Mondays I do this, Tuesdays I do this. And part of my Monday check is the returnability check. And I don't know how many retailers end up checking that and taking advantage of it. I have no idea, but I'm positive that a lot of retailers forget because I've done it. I've forgotten like a bunch of books that it's like, holy shit, that was returnable. And then I go to check and it's past the date. There's like a window. So I think they still end up benefiting from it.
I want them to change this and everybody forgot it, like that was a thing. And now they can be angry about it. Like, you changed it.
Yeah, then now they're going to they're acting like they were using it the whole time.
Yep.
Continuing on comic book news, Legendary Comics has announced its companion publishing plan to coincide with March's Godzilla vs. Kong in theaters and HBO Max.
We can never have enough Godzilla. Can you have it? I can't have enough Godzilla.
I need more. Always need more Godzilla.
You know who's going to have too much Godzilla? Kong, when Godzilla beats his ass. But March 30's Godzilla Dominion is a prequel graphic novel written by Greg Keyes, who did Star Wars New Jedi Order series, with art by Drew Edward Johnson from Wonder Woman, and will feature a unique story that picks up after the events of the film Godzilla King of the Monsters, where the Titans have risen and the reign of Godzilla has begun. somebody else who knows how to rule. Godzilla.
I can't remember if I pre-ordered this I know I pre-ordered one of them for sure, but there's another series also, another graphic novel coming out on the exact same day, which is March 30th, called Kingdom Kong, a sequel to the graphic novel Skull Island: Birth of Kong, and a prelude to the film Godzilla vs. Kong, which will follow, quote, a group of highly skilled military pilots gathered together on Skull Island to see who has the right stuff to take on a dangerous mission into the Hollow Earth, end quote. We talked about how the Hollow Earth is probably going to house either Mechagodzilla or a bigger threat, and this should be the tease to it.
Godzilla's book sounds way cooler than Kong's book.
Both books sound awesome. I think you just don't want to see how amazing Kong is. You don't want to be frightened yet when you see Kong punch Godzilla's tiny ass head.
The Kong book just sounds like a bunch of guys getting just friends getting together on Skull Island singing the right stuff. That's all they're doing. But they're just friends on Skull Island.
Other upcoming books will include an all-ages Kong and Me, Godzilla vs. Kong, Sometimes Friends Fight, but They Always Make Up, the official movie novelization, MonsterVerse Titanthology Volume 1, and Godzilla vs. Kong, One Will Fall, The Art of the Ultimate Battle Royale. Lots of stuff coming up. I
love Godzilla vs. Kong, Sometimes Friends Fight.
They knew what they were doing. I love it.
It's so sweet. Can we please? They're friends. See? Just friends.
Godzilla vs. Kong now? You're shipping them?
Better than Godzilla and Mothra.
That's not true.
Yep. So true.
That's interesting, though, that you would think that's a better relationship.
Yeah. I mean, Kong's going to lose anyway, so I guess, is that why he loses? He's like, oh no, Godzilla beat me. I am excited for pretty much all of this. I think it's so smart to do this, to tie it in. I think the kids' books are great because you're going to have kids who are going to see this movie, see the toys, and really want to continue interacting with it.
I hope so. I haven't had a kid ask for a Godzilla toy in pretty much half a year at this point, but they have asked for Godzilla comics, and I have sold a couple of those trades. It's just the merchandise that hasn't really risen up, but I think that's probably a product of there just hasn't been a movie in, 2 years now?
Oh, wow. Has it been that long?
I feel like it has been.
Wow, too long. Well, your son likes Godzilla, so you're going to have to get him this Friends Fight book.
I got to show him the original Japanese ones just so he can be bored with 75% of it and then be amazed by the last 25%. That's Godzilla, guys, everyone that complained about Godzilla vs. Kong or the first Godzilla, too many human relationships. It's like, yeah, that's a fucking Godzilla movie.
Yeah,
welcome.
that's what the whole thing is, like singing aliens and stuff.
Some more coming out of Warner Brothers. We got Godzilla coming on HBO Max. Can't wait for that. We're going to see it both in theaters and on HBO Max. But in an interview with Collider, Fantastic Beasts star Catherine Watterson confirmed David Yates' continued involvement with the rest of the remaining films in the franchise.
She said, quote, I think he is meant to direct them all. I think it's very interesting. He's worked very closely with J.K. Rowling for a long time, and very few people have access to her because she's quite insulated. And so I can't really imagine how it could work any other way, frankly. End quote.
David Yates, of course, having done previous Harry Potter films as well before Fantastic Beasts, so it does maintain that same, feel of especially over the last couple of movies in the Harry Potter franchise. How important do you think it is to keep the same director's vision throughout the 5 films, or however many they end up doing?
Well, as we'll learn in our next news story, it is extremely important. As long as the vision's good, right? Is that what we're going with? As long as the vision's good, I think, especially in series like these where you do have multiple films, they just flow so much better together, and you feel like it's one giant masterpiece rather than different movies by different people.
We haven't been exactly blown away by the Fantastic Beasts films.
All.
But I do hope that they pick up as we continue. I was excited to see more of Johnny Depp's character. Unfortunately, that recasting news has since been confirmed. So we'll see how, I think it's Michael Madsen is the newer, he played the villain in Casino Royale.
Okay.
Let's see how he does in the rest of the movies and how they end up explaining it. But yeah, I'll finish off the franchise, but I'm most excited now for that HBO Max series that is totally not confirmed by AT&T, but it pretty much is.
It's confirmed. I learned something exciting today, by the way, about myself, that I am an old millennial because I not only tell people, or I not only display my Harry Potter house, but I'm a Hufflepuff, and I display my Hufflepuff Harry Potter house.
Is that what makes you an old millennial?
Yes, you're either a Hufflepuff or you're a Slytherin. I guess those are the only two that do it.
If you're an old millennial, what am I?
A really old millennial.
So what am I supposed to be doing?
We're practically the same age. Well, do you wear... Oh, you don't wear... I was going to say you got to wear skinny jeans. Oh, you got to use the laughing emoji. That means you're old.
I do use the laughing and the RFL.
You part your hair to the side, not down the middle. Yeah, that means you're old.
Yep.
There were like a bunch of things on there. And I was like, yeah, that's me. I'm old. And then somebody pointed out, like, I'm not taking advice from somebody who ate Tide Pods. And I was like, damn, got him.
That's true. Wrecked, as the kids say. That was a fire comeback. Am I doing it?
Is that what they say?
Fire?
I just know they say that's litty.
That's that's lit. I've heard that's lit.
Yeah. Well, now you say I'm gonna get litty.
I'm gonna get litty. That's the first time I've heard that. One.
Now you know, because you're old. So now I'm just bringing you in with the young crowd.
See, I don't work with young kids anymore, so you got to be my connection to what the hip young teens and whatever. What do they call them? Zers?
The Gen Zers.
The Gen Zers, whatever they're saying now.
Yeah. My Sunday mornings are just high schoolers, and it's just a different world.
Something that's going to feel like a whole different world, especially when you compare it to Justice League, is the Snyder Cut. Still can't believe that after over 3 years of fighting for this thing, we are going to get it in weeks, PalpaKelli, in weeks.
Absolutely. It'll be here before you know it. But in an interview with Cinema Block, Zack Snyder pushed back against claims of criticizing his fan base.
Cinema Block being the offshoot of Cinema Blend, apparently. I don't...
Oh, shoot, yeah.
Now we got to create a website, Cinema Block.
Cinema Block.
So he defended the fan base. And the quote here that Snyder had was, quote, "I just think that's sour grapes. There's really no other way to say it. We know the people who were the architects of that narrative, and it's pretty obvious what their agenda is. Those are people that I've been held back from confronting by wiser people in the room. In regards to that toxic fandom, or it's a win for toxic fandom again, in what world does toxic fandom raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for suicide prevention? How is that toxic fandom? They've probably achieved more than any other fan base and done more good than any other group, so I don't understand." End quote.
You know who that wiser person in the room was holding him back?
Deborah?
His wife. 100%.
Well, I think she's a producer. She's straight up a producer anyway, right. But I'm assuming she handles all of his projects as well. And especially now with the Snyder Cut, there's been several interviews already where you see him and Deborah says something off camera. And there was the Snyder Con, I think it was, where he was doing the commentary on Watchmen and Dawn of the Dead and what would you say, Kick-Ass?
Kick-Ass.
No, it wasn't Kick-Ass. It was Batman v Superman.
Oh, okay.
And that's when, like, Deborah had to, I from what I imagined, they had to cut the interview, the Q&A short because it was revealing too many plot points of what would have been his 5-film arc. And that's the one where they wouldn't ask him straight up, are we getting the Snyder Cut? And I think you're right. I think that is Deborah and definitely other producers and other people smarter in the room that know how to handle this stuff.
But mostly Deborah.
She's awesome.
She's probably like,
great.
Okay, honey, calm down. Like, you don't have to go after these people.
There were articles saying that Zack Snyder needs to own all of his fan base, including the quote-unquote toxic side of it. And that's when I called out one of the articles on Bleeding Cool, and I didn't click on the article because I didn't want them to get the click for that article. I don't want to encourage them to keep making these kinds of hit pieces. And we know we've gotten them already. We knew that this project was going to get torpedoed. And we had been warned about it, but this time we're better prepared than, in 2016 or when BVS came out, of defending and fighting and setting the narrative. So in this case, I was, I replied under the Bleeding Cool article of why Zack doesn't need to own up to anything. It's why does he have to be like suddenly come out and say something when any other director or any other fan base isn't publicly saying anything about their own fan bases? Why is it only Zack that needs to own up to anything at all? He doesn't have to do shit. And that's the author of that article. She came at me and she said, when their fan base says something, then I will make that article. I'm like, really great. Let's see all the previous articles then that you've done for the Star Wars fan base and all these other fan bases. And she's like, well, if you had read the article, you'd see that I also called them out. I'm like, well, I didn't give you the click, so I didn't.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. She's going to find us. Shit.
that shit this is the kind of stuff that has to happen. We need to call out these bloggers and reviewers, because if we don't, that's when we get that shit that he's talking about, where suddenly there's a narrative about a toxic fan base. They're setting these narratives, and he says, no, we're not gonna, they've done so many great things with suicide prevention, and now we're getting justice for not just Ray Fisher, but for the people that worked under Joss Whedon and the Buffy the Vampire Slayer and all the other television shows that he was involved in. Like, this is the amount of justice and good that is coming out of the fan base and the people who worked on these films and TV shows is tremendous. Toxic is not anything near what you should summarize this movement as.
To your point earlier, you can find anything, find any movie, find any big franchise like this, and you can find a section of its fan base that is not okay. I think one of the best things that I can compare it to is anytime a Marvel movie would come out, if I would talk to somebody would ask me about it and I would say, no, I didn't like it, or no, it's not for me, I was immediately criticized by
They're so fucking toxic.
By every single person. It wasn't just a piece of the fan base. It was all of the fan base. And so you can sit there and find the negative in anything, but show me how the Marvel fan base did all the same amazing things that those of the Zack Snyder's Justice League did. Like, you can't.
Exactly.
You can't show it. So you just want to focus on the negative.
They're the ones bullying that little girl in Endgame, or it plays like Tony Stark's daughter or something. I never saw it, but they were bullying her because I guess she wasn't at the premiere or something, and the parent was like, she's a little girl. We have things to do. Like, she's not a fucking...
She needs to go to sleep.
She can't just do this. Yeah, and they bullied her, and it was disgusting. It's like, that's your fucking toxic fan base right there. And as you mentioned, though, just over the years since we started watching with Man of Steel and all those years since, that's exactly what it was. Like, people used to wonder, like, why are you so bitter towards the MCU? It's like, because I went through years of exactly what you said. If you just said, no, it's not for me, or I didn't watch it, they would attack you for not being a part of that group. And
why? Well, you didn't really watch it. Well, you didn't understand it. Well, what about this part? Well, what about that? It's like, I just told you I don't like it. Like,
and
leave me alone.
And God forbid you fucking tell them you liked BVS or any of the other DC movies, because then it opens a whole nother can of worms. And this is why we are the way we are now. Like, you know what? All right, you want to argue? Let's fucking argue. And this is where it's gotten us. This is the journey. that the MCU, man, they are something else. That's for sure. But again, we haven't really specifically attacked them lately because we're happy. We're getting the Snyder Cut, and I'm like, all right, like, you can't rain on this parade.
What are you getting? Because we got the Snyder Cut. What movie do you have? Oh, Black Widow? Nah.
Boring. When you say it childishly like that too, they get really mad.
I know.
It's really funny. Poor Rachel Weisz too, by the way, that she's in that. The great Rachel Weisz. And it's like, I mean, I hope she got paid really well, but that's a waste of talent. Like, I want to see her in something other than the MCU, this cookie cutter stuff. I don't want to see her dropping these kinds of jokes that you fucking see in these MCU movies.
Poop jokes?
What a shame.
You're tired of poop jokes?
Poop and nipple jokes and nonsense. All of them are Guardians of the Galaxy these days.
Well, let's cleanse our palate now with something even better, much, much better.
With just 2 photos.
With just 2 photos. So Vanity Fair revealed the first look at Jared Leto's Joker in Zack Snyder's Justice League.
I just came off this episode with Gio I asked them, are we going to see the Joker in the trailer only, or are they going to save it for the movie, or are we going to get his reveal right before the trailer? And we ended up getting it this week. It was trending all over the place. You had Jared Leto trending. You had David Ayer's Suicide Squad trending. You had the Snyder Cut, of course, trending. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Vanity Fair. This was their most, as Film God was pointing out, their most retweeted and liked article in God knows how long. They put up the Kardashians. Like, that didn't get that much attention at all. And then this was over everyone's fucking feed. On Facebook, on Instagram, on Tumblr. I put it up on the Comic Shop's feed. It was all over the place. Good or bad reactions. I'm like, okay, keep talking about it. This is awesome. Keep getting this in as many eyeballs as possible. I don't care if you're criticizing it. Keep talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League coming on HBO Max on March 18th.
But diving into this just a little bit, the face tattoos appear to be gone. He's wearing a hospital gown and a surgical mask along with longer hair.
The Vanity article revealed that his look will also include a bulletproof vest decorated in police badges that he wears as trophies. So we're obviously going to get more than one scene, it seems like, of this particular Joker.
And as a spoiler, skip forward about 30 seconds if you don't want to hear it, but Snyder revealed that this scene plays into a psychic vision experience by Ben Affleck's Batman.
His quote in the article read, quote, "The cool thing about the scene is that it's Joker talking directly to Batman about Batman. It's Joker analyzing Batman about who he is and what he is. That's the thing I also felt like fans deserved from the DC universe. That is to say, the Jared Leto Joker and the Ben Affleck Batman, they never really got together. It seemed uncool to me that we would make it all the way through this incarnation of Batman and Joker without seeing them come together." End quote.
There's a little bit more to his quote, but before we dive into it, what did you think of how Jared Leto looks?
It is, once again, a very different look than what we've gotten in the past. Every iteration of the Joker seems to have its own feel and its own path that it's carving, and I think that's great. I think, you know, I don't know, I'd never listen to the detractors, because even if they were to make it exactly comic accurate, they're going to say, well, they couldn't have done something different, they couldn't have given us something new, and now that we're getting something new, it's like
it's too different.
Well, I'm trying to remember so Jared Leto Joker, the Joaquin Phoenix Joker, when they revealed that one, the worst they could say was, it's an old man Joker. And literally they just found and they're doing the same with this. So like the Marilyn Manson Joker, that's the Crow. The Crow wants his look back, and it's like, all right, then they did good. Like, if this is the best you guys got, they'll just say, it just looks dumb. And with no reason why. I've seen that one a lot. Like, this is stupid.
Is something moving under their pants? And that's why, like, below the belt, they're like, I feel funny. This is dumb. Dumb.
And some were using this as an excuse to trash the Ayer one. Like, oh, see, they got rid of tattoos. Now they're fixing it. They're admitting that was a bad look. No, it's not. In fact, Zach thanked Ayer and Leto for letting him play in that universe with basically their toys, letting them play with that Joker and putting them in the film. And I don't know if they'll explain how the tattoos are gone or if he has more makeup on. I'm not too sure. I don't know if we need an explanation, but this is, as you mentioned, a very different look to the Joker. What were your thoughts on this one?
It was really interesting when I first saw it. I guess just the hospital gown, the way it looked, it very much reminded me of a butcher, which was very eerie for me, looking at the Joker, being like, oh shit, what's he doing now? Because that's who he is, right? He goes around killing people, but even more of that mindset of he's a butcher. He's really destroying people was incredibly eerie. I've said it before. I love Leto's Joker. He's one of probably the only film Joker that I've truly been afraid of, where I just, the way he portrays him, I'm just like, oh, no, I mean, you're cool, but but no. So really, really cool. I'm excited to see him. I love that Snyder was so passionate around the fact that we haven't really seen these two people together. And like, it's Batman's greatest villain, right? We need that opportunity. If we get nothing else, he wanted to make sure that this happened for us.
And it does seem pretty much clear and confirmed that it's Nightmare Joker. This is not a current timeline. He said it's a road-weary Joker. How do you think this Joker fits in a timeline that is a post-apocalyptic? There's a corrupt Superman. Darkseid has won, and he's taken over the Earth. What does that Joker do? Does he team up with Batman and Deathstroke to stop this greater threat, or does he play in this disgusting world and kind of do what he wants, or is it no longer fun for him because Batman's now focused on a completely different threat?
I am under the opinion that it's not fun for the Joker anymore. The Joker's, and we've seen it multiple times, when Batman stops being Batman, Joker stops being the Joker. And so if the things that Joker is doing aren't riling Batman up anymore, if Batman is, has a separate focus, and doesn't matter what Joker is doing, he's like, this is the bigger threat that I need to take care of. But additionally, I also feel deep in my soul that the Joker kind of has an ownership over this city too, right? Over Gotham. And if something is attacking Gotham and it's not him or any of his other villainy friends, I guess, he's going to have a problem with it, and he's going to stand up and take them out. And so at this point, at any point, if the world gets post-apocalyptic in Batman's world, I foresee these villains teaming up with him and saying, this is for the greater good. Like, yeah, we'll go back to being enemies tomorrow, but right now the enemy of my enemy is my friend. We have to work together to destroy this bigger threat.
I've seen some theories online say that him talking to Batman in the current timeline through this vision, kind of like how we saw with the Flash in BVS, and I'm guessing this all happens during the Flash's time skip towards the end of the Snyder Cut, but him talking to Batman about Batman, some have said that this is him warning, or I'm sorry, as a warning to Batman, saying, look at what happens to this world, and you've done it. And I think it's going to play out more of, this future isn't a good one. Like, he is warning the Batman as well, just like the Flash did. And if Batman sees that even the Joker is telling him this is a terrible future, then he knows that that Darkseid's a big fucking deal. The fear that he had for Superman, for this alien, he's realizing that was misplaced and it should have been even worse and towards someone else.
We will find out for sure soon enough. We're about a month out, which is so exciting, but you better believe you're going to hear about it here on the podcast.
Zach also went on about how he would have wanted to explore the Dick Grayson Robin's death at the hands of the Joker.
He said, quote, I'd always wanted to explore the death of Robin, and if there was ever going to be a next movie, which, of course, there probably won't be, I wanted to do a thing where in flashbacks we learned how Robin died, how Joker killed him and burned down Wayne Manor, and that whole thing that happened between he and Bruce, end quote.
And as we know from Ayer, the Harley Quinn portion was added in by Jeff Johns, and something that she was never a part of that Robin death. It was just the Joker, and this is why Wayne Manor is burned down, as we saw in BVS. So we're getting there. Everything in there was placed with intention. And we now know,
surprise.
Like, yeah, of course. But I want to focus on the way that Zach said it of, there probably won't be another movie, but this is what it would have been, and this is what I wanted to explore. Do you think he says this in a way that because if there really wasn't any movie anymore, do you think he'd even bother to say what it would be, or would he say it in a way of like, well, since there isn't another one, this is what it would have been? I feel like he would have gone into even more detail if that were really the case.
What Snyder just did is a tactic that you use on your children when you want them to do something. So, like, you want them to eat your vegetables, and you go, this is really good, but you wouldn't like it. And then they eat their vegetables. That's exactly what, oh man, this is what it'd be, but we're not getting another one.
It's as I was telling you earlier, where if he were to say, but if the Snyder Cut does well, then maybe we'll see that story, that doesn't light a fire under your ass as much as there probably won't be, but this is what I would have liked to explore. That tells the fans, we want to fucking see that. AT&T, come on. And with the merchandise they've been bringing up, the money they put into the Snyder Cut, these extra things of, now we have the Joker in this nightmare sequence, and it's not going to be the 5-film arc all in one movie, where it's probably going to end in a way that ends it in a way of there will be more, whether it's an animated series or not, but we're going to be asking for live action, Justice League Part 2 and 3. I mean, that's what it is. We're going to be asking for it, and we need to make the Snyder Cut the biggest success, and AT&T is treating this as if there's more than one coming because of the way that they're coming forward with the merchandise. They pretty much confirmed on Twitter, along with the great Jason Kilar of HBO Max, that there will be hashtags, emojis to go with the hashtags as we get closer to the Snyder Cut.
We've said it so many times, they are using this as a way to see how far can we really go. So when this releases, watch it immediately, put it on repeat when you go to work, like talk about it, talk to your friends about it, get the word out there, get the views, all these kind of great things, because that's what's going to show them, okay, this is how far, pull a Moana, how far I'll go. These are all the things that we can do with this world because this is the fan base that's behind it.
Well, it really is uncharted territory because there hasn't ever been a kind of director's cut like this or a director's vision being truly brought on screen and on streaming, not in theaters. And they don't know how this is going to how big this is going to get. And I think once they see the numbers, they're going to be extremely pleased with, this is fucking huge. Like, we're in a space where we're trying to get into the streaming space. And I think they have started to cement themselves in that, in the world of, Netflix and Apple and CBS All Access. HBO Max is trying to be the Hulu, that's a massive one. And I think this is going to be a huge key for them, as well as the different theatrical, straight to theaters and HBO Max releases that they're going to be doing this year.
Wild. I hope and I believe in the bottom of my heart this is going to be so incredibly successful for them. I don't think this is the end of what we see from Zack Snyder and his Justice League universe, However, I am so grateful that we've gotten to this point. 3 years ago, could you imagine saying, next month, we're going to get to see, right? We never thought we would have gotten to that point. So again, whatever we get out of this, however Zack Snyder's vision is continued, I am so, so grateful that we are here at this point where we are just right on the cusp of getting this great film.
The other thing that was also trending is hashtag restore the Snyderverse. And this seemed to have been like probably the biggest push for restore the Snyderverse is with this Jared Leto reveal. And that's when a lot of the MCU sheep and haters were like, restore the Snyderverse. And they're like, it's never going to end. And it's like, welcome, where have you been? Of course, we said we were going to push for more if we get the Snyder Cut. Why would we just go, okay, thanks? Like, that's ridiculous. Like, we'll give you more money if you make more AT&T.
Right.
And my favorite response to "it's never going to end" was someone put up the Alfred gif of "never."
That it's perfect.
I forgot to put it on the notes. It's a smaller, it's weird that this is a small news bit, but Zach also revealed the Steppenwolf black and white footage of him fighting against the Amazons, and it's clearly an R-rated footage, but this Steppenwolf, already just from those couple of seconds, a very different Steppenwolf than what we got in Justice League. What were your impressions of that one?
It was cool. He was like fucking shit up. He was not holding back and very terrifying, as you would expect a conqueror of worlds to be.
Throwing fucking horses around. Like, holy shit. This is the Steppenwolf that we wanted.
Yeah.
It's super cool.
Yeah, I was really excited, again, just giving us further hope of this amazing masterpiece that we're going to have.
All right, that wraps up the news block for this week. Let's head into our Patreon update for the podcast.
So these are our thank yous to everyone who helps make the show possible. But first, a big thank you to Bobby on Twitter at Cuban Slim.
Thanks also to John on Instagram at Johnny2Chips.
We also have Neil on Twitter at Inmat68 or on Insta at inmats.photography.
A thank you to Brian on Twitter at MogoBroquette.
We also have Kat on Instagram at BeachwoodPhoto.
And Matt on Twitter at Mr. Forklift, also at typingaboutmovies.com.
Jared on Twitter at Spoon Sandwich.
Next is Scott on Twitter at Lazy Gaming Guys and at Pandanime.
We also have Elizabeth at EP Lifts.
Nick F on Twitter at Jersey Whisperer and on Instagram as buds_bros_and_superheroes.
Julian on Twitter at Kage023 and at Lazy Gaming Guys.
Christian on Instagram at Christian Like the Religion 131.
Renee on Twitter at Yugi's Pokemon.
Corey B on Twitter at Comictropolis.
Manu on Twitter at ManUnited0710.
And finally, Jimmy. So we're doing a full thank you to everyone on Patreon. I put out this message on Discord and also on Patreon. And on Discord, I got the feedback of, if you heard last week's episode with Gio, the podcast is going to go through a restructuring. Without the Palpa here, I had to restructure the podcast, and it was also an opportunity to rework some things, because it's not going to be, I'll have another co-host and that's awesome, but the dynamic's going to be unique to every voice that's going to be on their side of the mic. So because of that, I needed to make to set this up to be a more conversational podcast so that it does mesh well with the different voices that I'm going to have on the Reasons I'm Broke every week. So because of that, one of the things that I was talking about was Patreon, and if they would care if the Patreon, one way or the other, if the Patreon would get axed from the regular segments, because there are some segments that are going to be dropped and it won't be around anymore, but there'll be newer ones and some that will only show up during, certain members of the Broquette Corps that are able to help out with the podcast. And everyone unanimously on Discord was like, you do you. Yeah, get rid of the Patreon shout outs and whatever is best for the podcast. Jared was saying, I don't think anyone backs it for the shout outs. They're just backing it because they want to support the podcast and they want it to continue. And Jared also suggested, if anything, why don't you do like another, more exclusive episodes? And I'm like, all right, cool. So I have a reminder now in my calendar of every, couple of months, put out either an exclusive episode or one that's out for a full month ahead of time, like the Batman animated series ones were. And I'm playing around with different ideas in my head. So I wanted to thank everyone on our list up to this point, and also everyone that had, over time, over the years, has dropped off and come back and so on, because all of you made the show possible up to this point, and the Patreon's still going to continue, but that's going to be another thing that I'm going to try to rework in some way. But as Jared mentioned, I think it seems like most people would be happiest with extra episodes each week, which will be more feasible with other hosts helping with the podcast. So that's the Patreon update for this week, and I'm just grateful that everyone has been supportive and their interest has been the show and not their personal shout out, which is, I would have kept it just the same if it was the opposite, whatever they wanted to do, but it sounds like they're excited for the different format that will kick off, that kind of kicked off last week in a way, but is fully moving forward next week.
We can never thank our Patreons enough for all of your support to help make the show possible, to help with all the extra things that we're able to do. But of course, the show is always free. So even if you're not a Patreon supporter and you just listen to us religiously every single week for so many episodes.
2012,
Since
over
2012.
400.
Wow. We really appreciate you and the time that you've put into listening to our show.
As Kelli mentioned, typically we'd have a comic book highlight each week. That one is now going to be moved primarily to when Bobby at Cuban Slim is able to come on the show, because he does pick up comics regularly. I know Scott has mentioned as well. He's like, anytime I have a book that you want to discuss as well, we can jump into that. So he's primarily a manga reader, so I'll have to maybe come up with some kind of other comic or book discussion based on who is on the podcast that week. So in the meantime, the comic book highlight will for sure probably return when Bobby comes on. I know not every single host that is helping out with the show is a comic book reader, so that's why that won't be a consistent portion, but the news portions that I do pull, because I do work in a comic shop, will still be there every week. Anything that is significant, like the Image comics that we covered this week, is going to be there each week as it pops up.
But now we can move into my favorite portion of the show every week, the Brocat Block, which is what happened with Daniel and I this last week.
You want to talk about a toxic fandom? Holy shit, the Birds of Prey fans, man. So Scott and I were at Target, and I'm sure you all saw the picture already, but we were going through, I like to pick up a Hot Wheel for Leo anytime we go. They're 99 cents.
He's an only child too, so
yeah,
that's part of it.
And it's like, all right, so we go there, and then Scott picks up, and we also look out for Sonic toys for Treasure Hunting Sonic to see if he has certain ones. And every now and again, Scott will find a cool collectible. I found the Knuckles figure as well. But we get to the DC section, and he's like, hey, look at this. And there's a big round Zack Snyder's Justice League, #Restore the Snyderverse on HBO Max sticker on the McFarlane Joker toy. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm looking at it already. It's not official. It's something that someone put on there. And I'm like, that's amazing. And I take a picture of it, and I'm like, there's a local fan in here that's doing the marketing that Warner Brothers won't. And we eventually make our way to the Blu-ray and DVD section. Scott also likes to pick up some anime from there. I find some pretty good deals sometimes in the clearance section. And on top of the Birds of Prey one, there was another one of that same sticker right on the cover. I took a picture of that. I tweeted it, and holy shit, man. Like, the Joker one, people were like, this is great. Where can I get some stickers? The Birds of Prey one, all the Birds of Prey fans descended upon me.
You were their prey.
Well, they were trying. Yeah, they were trying. But I kept putting up the Hose Mad image of Zack Snyder pointing and pissing them off even more. And they're like, one of the guys is like, oh man, this is not the way to promote it. And I'm like, no, actually all of you are talking about Zack Snyder's Justice League and you're sharing it, so keep going. And I kept getting hate messages throughout the day, and the same guy was like, it's kind of backfiring now, isn't it? And I'm like, no, it's not. This is still going. Like, this is incredible.
Y'all are
More
still
Zack
talking about
Snyder's
it.
Justice League and the Snyder Cut. But yeah, that's a fan base that I was like, I didn't think like more than 5 of you guys existed based on the fucking box office.
Well, they just made new accounts.
Oh, that's,
It was
okay.
just 5
Burner
people
accounts
with,
and multiple
new
accounts. That
accounts.
makes sense. Yeah, well, now that explains that. But that was amazing. That was really funny. And there was all kinds of talk over, it's defacing property. But then Walmart, of all people, like one person's like, I'm going to need some of these stickers for my Walmart. The Walmart account comes forward and says, that sounds like a plan to us. They then got hate and they're like, how come you're encouraging these people to come over onto your property and deface your products? And it's like, Walmart.
They're just encouraging people to come onto their property.
Exactly.
They're like, please,
this is great.
Please come.
And that's when I was like, I tagged Target. I'm like, Target, your move. Look what Walmart's doing. They never responded, but we're like, fucking Walmart. Hell yeah. So we said, I tagged Zach in that one on Vero, and I'm like, hey, Walmart's ready to play. You want to do some marketing with them? So it was cool. And I replicated the sticker decal. I changed a little bit. Like I put the HBO Max logo a little bit bigger. I added hashtag Snyder Cut on there. And I put up the template. I'm like, hey, if you guys want to print up your own, this site does circle stickers, but it's up to you, whatever. And a lot of people thought that I was the one, or Scott and I were the ones that were putting these stickers, when it was very clear in the thing, like, look what we came across. And
sure, what you came across.
We really did. Like, it really wasn't me, but they were like, you watch, we're going to send this to the authorities. I'm like, I didn't fucking do anything. Plus, like, under what basis? Like, what did I fucking do? I'm taking a picture of something that I found in the store. It's just really funny how mad they got, these Birds of Prey fans. It was pretty incredible. And that was my week, though. I just woke up and I'm like, all right, more people hating on it, and some of the really bad ones I was blocking, and even the RT Snyder Cut account was like, yeah, you doing all right?
You doing okay? Like we've been through this before, so how you
we
doing?
Go through this all the time, but are you okay? It was cool. It was really cool to watch. It's not something that I was like, losing sleep over it, but it was just a really neat thing to happen that if you follow us on Twitter, there's no way you missed it. And on Instagram, it did really well on there. People were clicking on it, and no hate messages, no hate tweets, but instead people were liking it, which gets the message out of hashtag Snyder Cut on HBO Max. Was great. This is exactly how it was intended. And whoever put out that sticker, salute, because you did what you were supposed to, and now so many eyeballs saw that on March 18th we're getting the Snyder Cut.
What's that line? He's not the hero we deserve, but the one we need.
Not all heroes wear capes.
Yep,
that's right.
That's him. Defacing property. It's fine.
It wasn't defacing. They were improving. They were marketing.
Okay, I'm sorry. You're right.
We also debuted PalpaKelli's TeePublic design. You always ask, is it a picture of my face on it? You always ask about it, and you now have it. Your face so on there, hair color and everything. You like it?
I do. It's amazing.
Happy?
It's me in my hood, just my palpiness being like, yeah, I'm so cool. Is it weird if I wear a shirt of myself? Would people be like, what's going on?
It shows confidence.
Okay, perfect. Can I get a shirt with a hood? So I'm wearing the hood with the hood.
They have, the shirt? Yeah, I think they have sweaters on there.
Yeah.
They've got coffee mugs, stickers, buttons.
I love it. I'm just going to be all decked out. They need to add sweatpants. I would have sweatpants of myself.
I wish they would. That'd be cool.
That'd be amazing.
That is available at thereasonsimbroke.com. I want to end this last one. Well, we'll end it with you, but let's go back to you. What happened in your week?
It was a standard week. A lot of things and moving pieces at work, and being strong and available for other people, which is something that I'm learning to settle into as it's my role, and as I'm trying to move into a further role. But things are still going great. Leo left all grandparents without crying this week, which was wonderful. We're working through that, starting to listen a little bit better, not a whole lot, but just a very sweet, affectionate little boy. We had a great day today where we just watched movies and played with trains and, just had a really great time together, which was nice. And then you and I got to get breakfast this week, which is just always the highlight of my week, is getting to spend that one-on-one time with you. Oh, my favorite book series that I talked about, I don't know, last time I was on, I'm getting my friend to read it, and she's texting me randomly, and I'm laughing evilly, ah, ha, ha, ha. Because she's like, hey, what's going on? Like, who's this person? Because the, main love interest, he was a villain in the beginning. She's like, I don't like this person. I'm like, yeah, he's an asshole. Just trolling her through the whole thing.
I'm glad you're not telling them. There's some people that get too excited about their thing that they're like, well, you just wait until, they just want to tell them everything right away. And I remember when Julian was beating Kingdom of Hearts 2.9 for the first time. And Scott was telling him, and then this happened, as it was happening. No. And I'm like, Scott, let him enjoy the ending.
Let him discover it. this book series is my favorite because of the roller coaster when you go through the first time, because you start with that first book and you're like, yeah, this guy's evil and this guy's really great. And you get to the end of the second book and you're like, that guy's evil and this guy's really great, right? You flip-flop, but it's that amazing roller coaster. And she's actually at the end now where shit gets crazy and I just can't spoil it. So she was talking about these two characters. She's like, oh man, this character came and like stole her. And I'm like, damn, she better escape and go back to that other guy, even though she never does. So it's pretty great. It's a lot of fun watching her go through that roller coaster because I never will again because I know what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's like you can't really replicate that first experience again, but you enjoyed it in a different way because you know where all the pieces now sit.
And you get more out of it. The really great thing about this author that I found the second time through is she put so many hints to what would eventually happen through the first book. And the first read through, you're just like, oh yeah, she just feels trapped here, which is why they're referring to it as a prison, but then it actually becomes a prison in the second book, and you catch that the second time around. So,
nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Before we go into PalpaKelli's farewell, that's kind of like Pikachu's farewell or Butterfly's farewell. It feels
Butterfreeze?
Butterfreeze, yeah.
Butterflies.
This episode is going to release publicly on Valentine's Day, which is also the same day that we're going to get the first Snyder Cut trailer. The Patreon backers get it early, as always. But the Toho released some Valentine's Day cards.
Adorable.
They're Godzilla cards.
Adorable.
And one of them is Godzilla crashing through a city, and it says, crashing my way into your hearts.
Oh, Godzilla. There's another one that says, I have a mecha big crush on you.
And then I'm 3 heads over heels for you.
That
fucking
would be
Ghidorah.
my favorite one. That's the one that I want. What would you write on a Godzilla Valentine's card?
You put me on the spot here. I don't think I have one.
Oh, I got one.
Let's hear it.
I love you even when you have atomic breath.
Right off the spot. Very
Boom.
nice.
That's what the Palpa does.
They did do one of Space Godzilla, and it was something like, you're out of this world. And I'm like, that's fucking
so
boring.
lame. Come on, you're better than that.
So I didn't even include that one on here. But there you go. Some Godzilla Valentines to enjoy today.
I have learned some coffee and food Valentines this year.
Your 2 favorite things.
My 2 favorite things. There's don't go bacon my heart. I couldn't if I fried, and it's got to be a bacon and a fried egg, right? There is words cannot espresso how much you mean to me. I love you a latte. You're terrific. Anyway, I printed all these and we're giving them out to customers for Valentine's Day because I'm cheesy like
At the coffee shop, right?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Because I'm cheesy. I printed them on Avery labels. Like I made them super cute and printed them on labels, and I just labeled like fucking 1 million bags and 1 million cup sleeves, and I'm like, here you go, guys.
There you go. Yeah. I'm gonna have to share these Toho ones on the page on the 14th. Like, part of me doesn't want to, but because it's like an interesting holiday because some people don't want to be reminded of Valentine's Day. But I'm like, it's a Godzilla thing though.
Right.
Like maybe if I pick the mecha one or something, that'll be a good one. Or the you're out of this world. Like, that's just positive, I guess. Like, that might end up being the best one. Who knows?
There we go. Perfect.
So let's close out today's episode, when it's going to be again, Gio's show last week was a preview of what we're going to more or less get moving forward. But the Broquette Court, they've had you since 2012, and today's your final episode. And if you want to, kind of give your send off and why it's happening or whatever, it's all you.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is kind of emotional, right? To think, because it has something that you and I began together and have spent a lot of hours together doing this, and kind of a big staple in our lives for a very long time. But, you pointed out 2012. So we're looking at almost coming up on 9 years that it's been going on. And I think back then, it was very much both of our passions, right? Comics, movies, TV, video games. We had so much time. We enjoyed both of these things together.
We did have a lot of time.
We had a lot of time to be able to indulge and just try out different things and really be invested. And, you grow. 9 years is a long time. And while your passion for those things have grown, mine has had to shift towards different things, right? I just don't have a lot of time to invest in them. And so while I enjoy the things that we do on the show, I know that I'm not as invested of a partner as you need to be. And that was part of the reason that we started to have discussions around maybe it's time for you to find someone else, someone that you can really click with, someone who's going to be that second partner in life. And I'm the partner in life.
You bring it up with me on the podcast. You're getting a divorce.
But the second partner in the podcast so that I can continue to be your partner in life, right? And to focus my energies. That's what I was trying to say. It's emotional.
I'm like, I'm never releasing this fucking episode.
No. So that I can focus on different things and support you in different ways. And it is very emotional because, again, like I said, I've learned so much through the podcast. I love our fans. I love everyone who listens to us, but it just hasn't really been something that I've been able to focus on for a long time. And we, had a great discussion around it and around what that timeline looked like. And as you dove into it, you found you have a lot more support surrounding you than I think you probably realized. And I foresee you continuing to grow. This is a space that you enjoy so much and you're so amazing at. And I want to be able to support you from the background and be like, yeah, I support you. You're the best. But to give you that space and that opportunity to find somebody who doesn't just show up, to talk on the show. And then you go, what do you think about this? And I'm like, yeah. So that's kind of behind it. I know it was really deep and kind of like raw into our lives, but I think that's what we've always kind of done with the show. This is us. This is who we are. And I'm thankful for everyone who's come along for the journey and been there as we've changed and grown. And this is just something that I've grown, I guess, away from. Was that too much? Do I need
No,
to...
this was good. I think it's good that we were upfront with Brokehead Core. It can't just be all right, well, this is your final episode. Thank you.
Not even. I just disappear.
Or if I just didn't even, if we just pretended it was a regular episode, people were like, what the fuck happened?
Where'd Kelli go? She's gone. So it doesn't necessarily mean I won't pop back up occasionally, but, those instances would probably be very few and far between, especially as things start to change with my career. My time and availability is going to change.
Right.
We've talked many times about how we only get the opportunity to record when Leo's asleep, and then I'm getting up at 5 a.m. So what does that look like? With me having to stay up, or when Leo's at school, and then that's time that we don't get to spend one-on-one together. And that's something that I'm a very big fan of and very passionate around us getting that time as a couple to really feed into each other. So
especially during the week when, we're both managers of our stores, we're putting hours into our stores. So that's the less time that we have at home. And then we have the little one who does demand a lot of our time. So it's our own time is divided in so many different ways that you're exactly right. Where we have been using for a while, for many years, I think, some time that, and some might say, well, it's just, maybe an hour, but there is prep work that I know I definitely do a lot of in the background. And then you do when you have to, when you get to read a comic book or, get to read the news stories and whatnot. So now that will instead be put back into our own family and then into us, you and I. So I think everyone can understand that. And they have been very understanding over that. But just to give everyone a very quick summary, and I hate to explain it instead of just going into it next week, but people that you may have, Brokehead Core members that you may have heard before in the past, that you've definitely heard on the past, like Bobby, like Scott, like Maceo and Jared. There have been several people that have come forward and that I've reached out to. I just reached out to Nick from Nick's Nerd News. We just gave him a shout out on the Patreon. These are big supporters of the podcast. And, I let them know straight up. I'm like, look, this is happening. This was a couple of weeks ago. If I'm going to continue this, would any of you be interested in rotating in as a host and, maybe get a rotation going? And, I would say that each would be on once a month. So that's 12 times in a year. And I think you can work out okay. And all of them, every single person responded and they were, supportive, and, some were like, I'll be on when, Macy was like, I'll do it when you do video game talk. And so I'm still kind of figuring out where these pieces are going to go. There's obviously going to be growing pains. It feels like I'm restarting a new show in a way, but I still have the skill set of, almost 9 years of doing this, that it doesn't feel like I'm starting over from the beginning. It just feels like the momentum continues, but in a different direction. And I've since picked up a couple of different books on marketing and traction and podcasting just to kind of reformulate how I do this thing. And that shows that I still have this hobby that I want to continue. It's like my aside from occasional video games and occasional movies, I don't watch as many movies as I used to, but this podcast is something that is a creative outlet for me that I wanted to keep going. And if this rotation of co-hosts for whatever reason doesn't work out, then that would probably in some way be the last straw. I don't know if I would just change it into something else. Like I can't, who knows how, encouraged or discouraged I would be, but so far so good. And as long as I plan out a couple of weeks ahead of time, like, hey, do you want to be on this week? Okay, great. Then it should work out okay. But to any members that, might jump off, to any Brokehead Core members with PalpaKelli leaving, then, I do appreciate you listening and staying on for as long as you did. I totally get it. It's the half of the show that won't be there every week anymore. But I do encourage you to at least, as you did when you first listen to the first episode or whatever, 200th episode, whenever you jumped onto the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, I ask that you at least give the next episode a shot. Next week, we're going to have Lord Koji on, who's another member of the Snyder Cut movement. And then the week after that, we've got Scott from Lazy Gaming Guys, who will be a regular member of the co-host chair, will be joining us the week after that. So it's exciting for me, and change is always uncertain. And I just went through change at work with this new system, and I don't like it, so I get it. But I want to keep this going, and let's see where it goes.
Yeah, I encourage all of you to stay on. I taught Daniel everything I know.
That's right.
But understand that the core and the essence of the show will still be the same. Even though you won't hear my voice every single week, I will still be here in spirit with all of you. You can wear my shirt while you listen to the show and have that peace with me. But, please understand this was not a decision that either of us made lightly, right? Even now I'm, tearing up thinking about it because it has been such an amazing benefit in my life and in our lives to have this thing that we did together and to kind of reach the end of that chapter. And while I think it's the smart move, right? The right move in our family, taking that next step to where we're growing. It is challenging. It is something that I wrestled with for a very long time, but I have appreciated the time. I've appreciated you putting up with me.
Other way around.
During all the times that I was perhaps a little difficult. But most importantly, to all of our listeners who have stuck around for the last 12 years. I hope it wasn't 12 years.
Since 2012.
Since 2012, 9 years. I hope it was not just for me. If it was, I don't know what's wrong. but sincerely from the bottom of my heart, thank you, everyone.
As always, thank you so much for tuning in. This is not the end. I will see you next week. Brokehead Core,
all will be well. I feel like I need some graduation music right now. Like
graduating?
I don't know.
Get a certificate?
What's you're like handing me in my diploma. Like
you're already the Palpa. You're leaving on top.
Oh, so am I giving you a diploma?
Yeah, that's right. That's what you're doing.
Like taught you everything I know. Here you go.
You got to be like my teacher in high school. Welcome to life.
Is that what they said? Yeah. How scary. Oh my goodness. I don't think they said anything. They're just like, congratulations. Go. Leave.
We have a lot of kids to get through. Come on, keep going.
How many were in your graduating class?
Oh man, I'd have to. I mean, it was hundreds. Yeah,
I had 12.
Should I ask if you were the top of your class?
I was the second.
Nice.
I actually graduated second. The girl who was top, like number one, she had also taken AP courses, and so she graduated with like a 4.9. I don't know, because the AP courses counted higher, and I took college courses which counted as AP courses, but I like college teachers didn't give a fuck, so I didn't either. So I graduated with like a 4.0, 3.8, something like that.
Well, not on this podcast. You graduated right at the top, the PalpaKelli's. Thank you.
PalpaKelli's. I like that. That's the highest that you can possibly get.